The midterms are here. Tinubu's administration has been here for the past 2 years. On today's edition of Dateline Abuja, we look back at the past 2 years. In the FCT, since the minister assumed office, what has happened in those 2 years when it comes to infrastructure development? And 2 years ago, our guest was here talking about what we should expect from Nyesom Wike as he assumed office as minister. Well, since the midterms are here, we have him back to break down what's happened and what we should expect before 2027. So sit back and relax and enjoy this edition of Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. We begin this week with a look back at some of the major stories that happened from the Nigerian presidency. It's time for our Abuja Wrap.
The All Progressives Congress has passed a vote of confidence on the administration of President Bola Tinubu and adopted him as its sole candidate for the 2027 presidential election. This followed a motion moved by the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, which was seconded by Governor Obasani of Kaduna State at the party's national summit taking place at the State House Conference Center. The National Assembly also passed a similar motion, which was adopted through a voice vote.
You don't blame a people bailing out of a sinking ship when they have no life jacket. I'm glad of what we have, and I'm expecting more to come. That is the game.
President Bola Tinubu has urged the new board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited to consolidate the gains of the ongoing economic reforms, which have attracted commendations for the resilience and competitiveness of the Nigerian economy. Speaking at the inauguration of the NNPC board at the State House, the president said he selected the board members painstakingly to ensure quality leadership. According to the statement by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu said the ongoing economic reforms have yielded results with local and international acknowledgements. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has announced that it will start sealing up over 4,000 properties in the Central Business District, Garki 1 and 2, Wuse 1 and 2, Maitama, Asokoro and Guzape over non-payment of ground rent for over 10 years. This was disclosed during a joint press briefing by the FCTA's Directors of Land Development Control and the Senior Special Assistant to the FCT Minister on Public Communication and New Media. According to the FCT administration, substantial notices were issued to the property owners and a total of 8 billion has been lost as revenue due to the non-compliance. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says he suspects that some politicians in the nation's capital could be sabotaging the CCTV project. The minister stated this during the budget defense session of the 2025 appropriation bill with the Senate Committee on FCT. The issue came up when the lawmakers asked about the state of insecurity in the nation's capital and the adoption of CCTV cameras across Abuja metropolis. According to Mr. Wike, CCTVs can only be adopted with express permission from the presidency.
You talk about security. Also understand that this is record where the president resides. The chief of army staff, the chief of defense staff is here. We don't have that autonomy as per autonomy to take the entire security architecture of FCT.
Welcome back. Our guest on the program today is a public affairs analyst, a political analyst as well, Mr. Jide Ojo. 2 years ago, as I said earlier, he was here on Dateline Abuja telling us what to expect from Nyesom Wike as he assumed office at the time. Well, it's been 2 years. What are some of the things that have happened? And did he meet up with the expectations that he set when he came into office? Also, what are the areas that are lacking attention from the FCT minister? And how can we get him to start to look in those areas? Please watch this. Mr. Jide Ojo, welcome back to Dateline Abuja.
My pleasure.
2 years ago, you were here.
Yeah.
And you said you predicted that we were going to be filled with a lot of road construction in the FCT. And you said, I remember you mentioned that time that people may not understand it because it will feel as though the constructions are happening in the highbrow areas. And you said that those are where his cronies are. That's where the FCT minister's cronies are. The networking that needs to happen in those places will come first on his agenda. And that was what we saw.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those 2 years. Are there areas where he hasn't met up to the expectations that were, expected of him when he assumed office?
Thank you, Kela, for bringing me back to discuss the man of the moment in Yesan Wiki. The man who I believe in the nearest future, people will be doing their PhD thesis to understand this kind of politics. Predictively, like Nostradamus I told you 2 years ago on this very program, that he needs to first settle his cronies, his colleagues, people that he was former governors with. So when he was doing the Asokoro roads and Guzape and all of that, I knew that charity begins from home, and home for him is among his colleagues and brother governors. Now, we have seen him venturing to satellite towns, and there are 13 projects that are slated for commission in June this year. But the question you asked me is where he needs to look, in what direction, and I would say in other social services. I'm not pleased with the state of health in the FCT. I wrote in my column in The Punch, was it March this year, February or March this year, about the astounding revelation by Association of Resident Doctors when they went on that 3 days warning strike, that the situation of public health institutions in FCT is appalling. General hospitals, primary health care center was nothing to write. And I was not, as if as a writer to that, someone just made the motion in the House of Reps or Senate about the need to declare state of emergency in FCT health institutions. The alibi is that there is growing population of FCT, so the carrying capacity of the health institutions is rather low and needs to be upgraded. And I think that may not be far from truth. But as Yesan Wike is doing the roads and giving us bridges in many unexpected places, he should just look at how to improve healthcare delivery. That's one. 2 is education. Again, we have seen primary school teachers down to over non-payment of minimum wage for months now. And it's shocking. It's shocking in the sense that most of the projects in FCT is being undertaken by FCT. So I don't understand why area councils cannot pay teachers' salary and local government staff to the extent that they are now having to go on strike. And they have been on strike for some months. So it's not just a couple of weeks, it's for months. And primary health care, primary schools in FCT and local government system is almost comatose. As I said recently, was it last week on the media channel, I said there is a trinity in FCT. The presidency is here, the federal government headquarters is here, then we have the FCT, Federal Capital Territory, then we have the area councils. So the 3 are actually present here. And if one is not pulling its weight, it impacts on the other, because this is where all the diplomatic missions have their head offices, and when they read in the papers that FCT teachers are on strike, that FCT doctors are on strike, it does not portend, it doesn't give the right optics for the president as the commander-in-chief and the chief host of this place. So I think in those 2 areas, then security. In the area of security, a lot still needs to be done. FCT residents are not feeling very secure. And you could see that it was in this FCT that the director of administration of APC, which is the ruling party, was abducted and murdered by his abductors a couple of months back. There have been some other high-profile and not so high-profile, abductions that have taken place. And so our FCT residents are sleeping with only their one eye open, if at all they are sleeping at all. And I think that is one area it needs to enhance the security. Again, it's a trinity. It's a trinity because we have the force headquarters here, the police highest apparatus is here. We have the Ministry of Defense here. We have all of the security agencies, including the Office of National Security Advisor here in Abuja. And prime attention must be given here. As is paying attention to the road networks, which are giving 80% in the last 2 years, even area councils are feeling its impacts in Buhari, in Kuje, in Gwagwalada, in Kwali. They are seeing some new roads, brand new roads being cultivated, being put together. But if there is no security, if there is no good health services, if there is no good education, then it will amount to naught because people will still not find it comfortable and it will impact on economy.
I want to be able to talk about the area councils.
Yeah.
And the chairman. Many people forget sometimes that the area councils are not being run by Wike.
No.
The area councils have area council chairmen who will come out for election soon. I think
very
it's
soon.
in a few months.
Yeah.
These area council chairmen, how would you assess how they have treated their area councils?
I think that overlap where, because constitutionally, Kayla, the constitution has highlighted areas of where each of the tiers of government has jurisdiction. So I think Schedule 4 talks about functions of local government. But in FCT is blood. Those functions are mostly done by the FCTA. So, radio and liquor licensing, abattoir, motor parks, all of that is supposed to be under the area council. But you see the multiple tax system that we run. Maybe there will be some sanity when the new tax reform bill becomes law and there is a centralized collection system. Maybe we will see more sanity. Because it seems from the feelers I'm getting, it seems like the area councils said all they get is only the allocation. But in terms of IGR, they are not, maybe it's like that is already outsourced to the FCT. And I think, you see, the truth is that the area council chairman hasn't done much. They haven't done much, and that's why you see very low-level participation by citizens at their elections. Because the absence is there. It's noticeable. Community roads, trunk C roads that is under their jurisdiction are in a very bad shape. And you can't expect Wike to do all those inner roads, roads linking streets and communities. You can't expect him to take on that responsibility on their behalf. Because what we were pushing for, at least at the level of civil society, is for local government autonomy. And local government autonomy should not just be about financial, but administrative autonomy. And that hasn't happened yet.
If you've just joined us, we have Mr. Jide Ojo with us in the studio, public affairs analyst, and our own Nostradamus when it comes to the FCT. I want to thank you very much for being with us on the program.
My pleasure, Kayla.
So let's talk about this transport issue. Some of the motor parks in the FCT, poorly maintained. I think doing this job, for me, one of the worst motor parks is the Area 1 motor park, the Gwagwalada motor park that is at Area 1 roundabout. And it's because that place is so unregulated. It's a slum in the middle of the city center. The amount of letters and messages we get from people from Area 1 and that Durumi axis, it's astounding. They say their neighborhoods are unsafe. And if you drive there, you can see that. You can see that it has turned into a slum. And it is right in the middle of the city center. A few times, that place has been demolished. All those shops and shanties have been demolished, but they come back. They are being overrun by shanties in that neighborhood, that particular place in Area 1/Durumi. But it also raises the question about transport systems in the FCT. Our bus stops in Wuse, even in Guzape here, you see that there is no actual transportation system. Everyone is just standing on the road and hoping that someone picks them up. What's the problem? Among the things that the FCT minister said they're going to be launching, these projects that are going to be launched sometime soon, a lot of bus terminals, but the motor park system and the transport routes in the FCT, what do you think is the actual problem there?
You nail it in the head by saying that it's a problem, it's like a sore thumb, the motor park system. And yet, like I said, it's supposed to be under the area councils. Because the area councils constitutionally are to control, maintain, and the motor parks. It's clearly stated in the, I think, Schedule 4, where the functions of local government. So we can't continue to hold wicket to all of this because, yes, it's the one everybody knows. It's the one that speaks to the media. I think it's over media friendly. Like every week is talking, live transmission.
It's every month. It's once a month.
Okay.
But it ripples so far that you think it's every week.
Yeah, but it goes nowhere without media. It's somebody that knows how to maximize the use of media. I wish the area councils can take after that and speak more to the people of the communities of the councils, because we actually have found their absence in 4 years, and they are having 4-year term.
Oh, yes. Area council chairman, 4-year term.
It's not 4 years. So what are they doing in 4 years? Look at that. It's not only go to Utako Motor Park, the same thing. Utako is also Gwagwalada. Go there. Every man to himself. The whole thing is just so, and there should be a decent transportation system. You are very spot on. People park and just pick passengers. And for those of us who are private, how do we call ourselves now?
Car owners.
Car owners. If you are driving and you are not very careful, you will run into somebody. Because in fact, in my neck of wood, under the bridge, you can spend up to 10-15 minutes to pass because there's, in fact, even the few law enforcement people that are there are ignored.
Mess.
There is a need for greater regulation and law enforcement around our motor parks. And not only that, even within the parks, there should be some sanity. It should not just be people. I'm always very wary of taking people to parks to board vehicles to their destination. Because if you are not very careful, depending on the time of the day, you can be mugged. Right from before you enter, they are already like, Onitsha, Port Harcourt. I mean, for interstate, if you go around Utako, Jabi, Utako, where you have all the interstates, if you are going to heaven, you can always get you should get a bus to heaven there.
Heaven, Purgatory, where you're going.
From Jabi to Utako, it's like the Oshodi of Abuja.
Yes.
So, I'm talking about that, but I know what we are talking about, this old area, One Durumi, Akpo, interchange, and all of that. But it's a phenomenon around and as I said, there is a need for stricter law enforcement and sanity. And this is where area councils needs to be called out. I want to believe that now that there are bus terminals And I think there will be many more. There are 2 now. There is one in Kugbo, there is one in Mabushi.
Yes.
So I believe that more will spring up, and then that will help solve that problem where you can say, if I stay in Mabushi bus terminal, I'll get vehicle going. So
and that Wuse area as well. Wuse 2, around, not too far from former Amigos. That place is a nightmare as well.
I've been resident in FCT for 22 years, so I know all of these things. But you see, it's one step at a time. And I believe that with time, this will be sorted out fully. But right now, I think area councils need to step up their game in sanitizing the menace of these motor parks. What I would want to see is the kind of handshake across the table between FCTA and the area councils to jointly contribute to solving this, particularly area, particularly AMAC. Because all of these places you are talking
they're all in the city center.
They're all in the city
and
center.
Mr. Christopher Mekalangu is in charge of AMAC.
Yeah,
so
Alanti has defected to APC.
We don't really care.
No. Yeah, it has a meaning. I didn't even know it was PDP before, but now you know the usual excuse.
He should do more.
Now that it belongs to the party at the center, maybe that will give him more leverage.
At this point, you know, with the FCT, you just get the job done.
That's what people want
after
to see.
After all, Wike is still in the PDP.
He's still in PDP.
So just get the job done. But I want you to be able to talk a little bit about the FCT, the people who belong to those who were born here, the ones that this is their hometown. In many ways, they feel very excluded from governance in the FCT. Is there something that can be done about them? Many of them they said they are not included in the development commissions.
See, you rightly pointed it out. Issue of metropolitan communities always have that issue of marginalization of the indigenes. Because when it comes to game of numbers, you are in minority, even though you are owners, you are indigenes. And I think successive government has not totally abandoned them. Because I know that even though they were displaced, compensations were paid to them. Yeah. And some of them were even given lands elsewhere in the outskirts, like in Gwagwalada, in Kwali, in Kuje. They relocated them from the city center. So it's not like they have not really. And then there is a representation, a senatorial seat and 2 House of Reps position that is meant for them. I don't know whether the current Ireti Kingibe is an indigene, I don't know. But I do know that the guy that left the place, what's his name? Aduda, Philip Aduda is an indigene. So it's about, there will be more. I think what FCT also need is mayoral status. If they do get a mayoral status and the indigenes can speak with one voice, don't forget that we should commend President Bola Tinubu. For one thing, he gave them Minister of Special Duties. That's the Safanaya Gisalo, who happens to be former area council chairman. At least that's to give them a semblance of inclusion, that even if it's special duty, they have a table at the cabinet, and it will take a while for them to get all that they want. But I think it's also about they need to understand that they are not minority, even though they may be an indigene, and who actually is not a settler. In the real sense of it, people migrate. There is a lot of migration. I'm surprised that some people are even tracing their origin to Yemen.
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Jide Ojo, for being with us on Dateline Abuja, and good luck with all the work ahead of you.
Happy Democracy Day in advance.
Thank you. Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. And before we close, it's a call to the FCT residents to treat the infrastructure that we're seeing around us as their own. Don't destroy it, don't deface it, and if you see anyone doing so, make sure you report to the FCT authorities. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.